I'm Amanda.
And I'm Mike. And
this is Saturday Morning Cereal. What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Cereal. I'm Amanda here with Mike, and today is a very exciting film that we are going to review, and that is Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. And it is a film that Mike has been looking forward to, like, his whole life. So, Mike, take it away. Let's get started.
So, Across the Spiderverse was directed by three directors, Draco M. Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson. Phil Lord and Chris Miller have writing credits along with Dave Callahan. So, starring Shameik Moore as Miles Morales, Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy, Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara, Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker, Issa Rae as Spider-Woman Jessica Drew, Ryan Tyree Henry as Jefferson Davis, Karan Soni as Spider-Man India, Danielle Kuala as Spider-Punk Hobby Brown, Luna Lauren Velez as Rhea Moraz, Shia Whigham as George Stacy.
Yeah, Shea Wigham.
Greta Lee as Lila. And Jamar Tacombe as Vulture. And 1967 Spider-Man. Rachel Dratch as Mrs. Weber. And Mahershala Ali as Aaron Davis, a.k.a. the Prowler.
And one thing that was very interesting to note is Rachel Dratch has a special appearance in this movie. And they gave her character... that it looked exactly like her. I couldn't believe it. Because she's in the trailer, and I was like, that character looks like Rachel Dratch. And I looked, and I'm like, that is Rachel Dratch, duh. So I thought that was really clever.
That lemon looks like a rock. Wait
right?
A minute. That lemon is a rock.
Right? Oh, man. And then, I forgot to mention in my intro, guys, we are going to be hosting a giveaway. AMC was giving away some posters, and we got an extra one for you. So,
by mistake, we didn't take it just to give it away. We grabbed it by accident. They stuck together. That's the story I'm going with.
Right. But we want to give our extra poster to one of you guys. So make sure you're following us on Instagram, and we will be announcing the winner on our next episode, which is roughly in about 2 weeks, which is The Flash. So
another multiverse movie.
Yeah. So... all the multiverses. I can't keep track of it all. That's crazy. So, Mike, where do we pick up Miles in his adventure?
So, we find Miles at Brooklyn Visions Academy as a sophomore, and he's kind of very lonely. And he really doesn't have a place in the world yet. He is a Spider-Man, but he's no one else to relate to. No one knows his secret outside of his roommate. And he is just loaning for some company, and he runs into this villain called the Spot. And the Spot is a super cool villain because of his ability to summon portals in, out, and outside of his body. So Spider-Man is fighting the Spot, and he gets wrapped up in his parents' life with his responsibility being Spider-Man and his responsibility being Miles. He just causes a lot of friction between his relationship with his parents, and that's kind of where the movie takes off.
Mm-hmm. I like the Spot. He was pretty... he's funny, and you're just like, you don't take him seriously, but you will.
And we also had an incredible prologue.
Yes.
Featuring Gwen Stacy, Spider-Woman, Ghost Spider, whatever you want to call her. And wow, the movie just... kicks off right in that prologue, and you think it feels like a whole little short film in that prologue. Like, it feels so complete.
Yeah, it had a beginning, middle, and end. And it's interesting because when I first started dating you, Mike, you kind of like, I don't know, like, this is Spider-Gwen. She's one of my favorites, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll cosplay as her, and you know, whatever. Like, I never really gave it much of a thought, but as the years went by, I was like, oh man, I love Spider-Gwen. Well, today, this movie, like, really solidified the fact that I do love Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, we had started dating in 2016, and in summer of 2017, I took Amanda to Wizard World which is now known by Fan Expo. But we went
Mm-hmm.
to Wizworld. I was like, well, it's part of the Comic Con experience. You gotta wear a costume. So I picked out a Spider-Gwen costume for her. I'm like, well, it's this alternate story where Peter Parker dies and Gwen Stacy becomes Spider-Woman, and today it really clicked with Amanda. Like Spider-Gwen came like she's like there.
Mm-hmm.
She is a Spider-Man character up there with Miles and with Peter. Like
Yeah.
it's like a trinity now.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Miles too in this movie. I wasn't really a big fan of him in the last one, just because I didn't know what the heck was going on, first of all. But we rewatched the first movie not too long ago, and then just seeing this movie right after watching that, yeah, I really have a full understanding and appreciation of Miles now too. So, Mike, Spider-Man is your most favorite character of all time, and you have seen like what every single Spider-Man piece of entertainment there is out there, which is like the cartoons and the movies, which, either live action or animated, you've seen them all. So, what separates this Spider-Verse movie from those animated movies?
Well, Spider-Verse, the first movie, and this movie even more so, feature a revolutionary type of like cell shading, and they are not afraid to just embrace the appeal of comics. Panels, word bubbles, big words across the screen when a big noise happens, or pow, blam, flip.
Mm-hmm.
It's all there, and it's 3D, but it's rendered out to look like 2D.
Yes.
And occasionally they'll let the animators draw lines on the characters to add motion, or they'll render a background that's out of focus. They'll render it with like a print misalignment, like in the comics. Printing was done by CMYK, right? So yellow, cyan, magenta, black, and when those pigments don't line up, you get like blurry colors. So that's how they render out of focus backgrounds in this movie. So they just really just smooth over like the comic book look into this film.
Mm-hmm. It was visually stunning. I mean, there were just so many parts. I was like blown away by the visuals. There were parts I wasn't paying attention to what was being said because I was just too busy staring at the colors and just everything. Especially the Gwen Stacy scenes when she's home with her dad, and the colors just kept. You said something about different renders, like different colors being rendered out for those scenes. It kept changing, and I just thought it was really cool.
Yeah, in like Miles' universe, like not everyone has they have like contour lines on their face to just exaggerate more features. But in Gwen Stacy's universe, they really pay attention to those early Spider-Gwen comics written by Jason Latour, and I forgot who illustrated them. But on those comics, it's very like this very washy, like watercolor look, and that's how it was rendered out in her universe.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, words can't describe just how cool the visuals were in this movie. And what I really like too is all the designs of all the Spider-Mans in this movie. Like, everyone had a very unique design to them. Yeah, it was just great.
So, Amanda, who was your favorite Spider-Man feature in this film? It could have been anyone. It could have been the main character. It could have been a little character that shows up in the corner of a screen for like a second. Who was your favorite?
Oh, it is so hard. I mean, I gotta pick my girl Spider-Gwen because she just had such a good character arc in this movie, and it kind of made me come to terms like just how cool she really is and how badass she really is. I really did like Jessica Drew too. I liked her bike. I liked the fact that she was pregnant and just being a complete badass at the same time. And I liked punk rock Spider-Man. What was his name?
Spider-Punk.
Spider-Punk, yeah. He was cool too. Everyone was cool, but yeah, definitely Spider-Gwen.
What about the Western Spider-Man, the cowboy
Oh,
Spider-Man?
I forgot about him. I did like Western, yeah. So I think out of the inner circle of the movie, if you take like, Gwen, Miles, all of them out, definitely Wild West Spider-Man with his horse. How about you?
Oh, my favorite. Well, of course, I'm gonna go with Spider-Gwen as my favorite feature in this movie, but Miles up there too. Peter B. Parker wasn't the scene stealer that he was in the first movie. I think they did that on purpose because Miles really has to make the big leap in this movie and stand up against people, especially people that he looks up to. I think that's like the whole theme of the movie, is standing up to people who you look up to sometimes, because sometimes not everyone that you look up to is right all the time. But I gotta say my favorite cameos were definitely the Spectacular Spider-Man, which was a Spider-Man TV show that was on when I was in high school, I think, maybe in 2007 or 2008. And Josh Keaton returns to do that voice, and then they had the Spider-Man from the PlayStation 4 game in this movie as well. He's got a few lines. Christopher Daniel Barnes voiced Spider-Man in the 90s animated show, and you might know him better as Prince Eric from The Little Mermaid.
Hey.
He was not in this movie, so I'm hoping he kind of squeezes into the next one. But definitely great seeing all my favorite Spider-Man all in one place, everywhere, all at once.
Even Andrew and Toby.
Yeah, I didn't spot Toby in this movie as explicitly as I did Andrew. But yeah, so many of them are there.
Yeah. You blink and you miss Toby. I recognized he was like further back in that like montage room. He was kneeling over Uncle Ben. And they do show a good chunk of Andrew, so that was fun. Who do you think the main antagonist is in the story?
I mean, it's going to have to be a two-way tie between the Spot and between Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, because the Spot is the one that eventually will end up going after Miles' dad, and Miguel is the one kind of like standing in the way of Miles' goal of saving his dad, so they're both kind of equally bad guys. But the Spot, so cool, right, Amanda?
He's so cool. I thought he was a joke at the I didn't know he was gonna be the big bad in this movie, but just oh my god, when he got sucked into his whatever warp thing and then came out, his colors were like all inverted and he was like completely buff. Holy crap. I was like, this is amazing. Like, he was just so well designed and just so simple but menacing.
Yes. So I really like in superhero movies, the superhero usually will take out a smaller villain when in the first act of the movie. But then you get a movie like this and a movie like The Incredibles, and that villain that they take out at the beginning of the movie, who's not a threat at all, you come back later in the movie, they come back and they're leveled up.
Yeah.
And they're a serious threat to the villain. So the Spot is kind of like the Spiderverse syndrome.
Yeah, like I said, we were laughing at him early on in the movie, and you just think he's a joke. But then, oh my gosh, yeah, he's going to be crazy in part 3 of this movie. Yeah, I asked Mike on the way home, I was like, so is Miguel, like, Is he Miles' boy? Like, are they watching his back or not?
Well,
I'm so confused.
Miguel is kind of like Doctor Strange in Infinity War. Like, all Doctor Strange wanted to do was preserve what was going to happen on the timeline. Like, he had to protect the stone. He had to make sure that the series of events that unfolded were going to put Infinity Stones in Tony Stark's hands. Like, everything had to happen that way. And Miguel just kind of has to maintain the order of the multiverse, and that all starts with Miles being bitten by the spider because it was an anachronism. It was something that shouldn't have happened. The spider was from Dimension 42, and Miles never should have become Spider-Man, according to Miguel. And you were talking about the similarities between like the TVA and the Spider Society and kind of Miles and Sylvie.
Yeah.
From Loki.
Yep. Yeah, because they both weren't supposed to get whatever they like, Sylvie wasn't supposed to be female. She, was just a complete what's a good word for it? Like discrepancy or just, bad mark on the timeline. So Miles getting bitten by the spider and becoming Spider-Man, he wasn't supposed to do that either. So there's a very similar circumstances happening here, and they're not supposed to exist on these timelines. So therefore, these forces, so like the TVA is after Sylvie, Miguel is after Miles, or it's crazy how, especially like Loki really kicked off the time, or like the whole timeline, multiverse, Nexus events, those kind of things, and we're starting to see these pop up in other movies. Especially now, like DC, they're branching off into the multiverse too. So I'll be curious to see like what their take is.
So, besides the visuals, which we've already discussed, what else about this movie really took it home with you, Amanda?
The acting, the voice acting, definitely. And I really enjoyed all of the characters and how everyone just worked well together. We finally have Gwen meeting Miles' parents, so that kind of clashes together. And I do like Miles' parents. They are fun. I love his mom. I think she's fantastic. But yeah, I just think the voice acting was phenomenal. It was like watching a person act. There were times too where like you forget it's an animated film. Especially just how well done Miles is, Gwen, Peter B. Parker, just how well their human designs look, and yeah, I just think the voice acting was top notch.
Can
What about
I
you?
can I have a little like of a director nerd out here?
Mm-hmm.
So, what's really underappreciated in a lot of films is the blocking, and by blocking I just mean
Mm-hmm.
like the placement of characters on the screen and going throughout a scene. And there's this scene in Across the Spiderverse where Miles and Gwen are talking on a rooftop, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Oh.
they transition the rooftop and they go underneath like a gargoyle thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're hanging
Yeah.
upside down and they're talking. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, that was a really cool part, especially when it panned out and you could see the skyline upside down. I love that.
Yeah, and it's like the blocking then fed into the visuals, and then
Yes.
the voice acting on top of that. Really, everything is just on
Mm-hmm.
fire in this movie.
Yeah, everything just worked so well together. It's like I couldn't ask for a better movie. I don't remember liking a movie like this since No Way Home.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Two Spider-Man movies in a row that I just adore. What was your favorite dimension rendered?
So it's going to be a little bit of a an obvious one, but it's actually going to be dimension 42. And
Okay.
it's the dimension that Miles ends up in at the end of the movie. And it's the wrong dimension. It's not his home dimension. And it's just based on the fact that it reminds me a lot of Back to the Future Part 2,
Yeah.
where Marty McFly goes back to his house, but it's not really his house, it's someone else's house. And this kind of happens to Miles in this movie. And we get to see uh, this alternate dimension where Miles is the bad guy. He is the Prowler in this dimension, and his father's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
maybe the next movie is Miles versus Miles.
I want to give a shout to Spot and the part where he was dipping in and out of different timelines. I thought that was so funny. Like
Yes.
scaring the pants off people, and oh my god, I was cracking up so hard during that whole part. But it was kind of like the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, where you got to see a taste of like different designs, different renders, different just landscapes and scenes, and it was just a really fun part. There was even a Lego part.
Yes, the Lego. How could we forget the Lego
And
dimension?
I enjoyed the Lego part. I thought that was pretty funny because, the whole thing was kind of a joke, but yet they called the Lego Spider-Man like an integral part of the inner circle, and I just thought that was pretty funny. So I have to say a little bit of the Lego just because that was funny, but I did like Gwen's, the dimension with Gwen, like I said, because of the color changes and just the design overall.
And how it was very interesting. They kind of did like this Roger Rabbit approach, and they're like, well, we can do this in live action because that's what you're familiar with in this part.
Yeah.
And this part can be animated. And they did have this. They do have these scenes where there's just a live action figure walking around inside of the animated universe.
Oh yeah.
And then they'll do another scene where it's an animated character inside a live action universe.
Mm-hmm.
Like the spot just drops in and that woman's working behind the counter.
Yeah, just talking to her and she's just not amused at all.
I don't really support the Sony movies, the Sony Spider-Man movies outside of Marvel, but except the Spider-Verse movies. But I think that was the Venom universe.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Because he said that woman looks like she had seen a lot of crazy things. So I'm thinking it might be from the Venom universe. But I don't know. I've never seen Venom.
Yeah. I do have to say one thing, though, and this is kind of unrelated, but I am starting to notice, like, different Easter eggs in Marvel movies now. I swear to God, I saw somebody that looked like Nick Fury at Miles' dad's, like, promotion party. I could be wrong, but I just, I feel so proud that I can, like, recognize those things.
Do you think there are other Marvel characters in the dimensions featured?
There could be. I mean, they were mentioning Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. Maybe there's a Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a Nick Fury who's not director of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's just, like a cop or something.
He's just Nick Fury.
Or he's just a regular dude.
With 2 eyes.
Yeah, he had 2 eyes? He didn't have an eye patch?
No, I don't know. I don't remember. It happened so fast, but I was just like,
So, we came out of the theater and you wouldn't stop talking about how much you love Spider-Gwen, and then you talked about how you loved Miles more. So, what made Miles and Gwen more likable in this film versus the previous one?
Well, like I said, we rewatched the first one, so it was nice to go from that right into this movie. And this movie really highlighted the fact that Gwen is a spider person. She's a superhero. And we get to see her act on a solo stint a few times, and yeah, she is a superhero, just like Peter Parker. I mean, she has the moves, she has all the stuff that Spider-Man has. So that's what I really liked, and then I just like her attitude. She's what a lot of girls go through, just angsty and just being a teenager, I guess.
And lonely, right?
Yeah, she's lonely. Yeah.
She doesn't have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
I think that's a theme, and that's kind of what connects Miles and Gwen, is just their loneliness for other people like them.
And I think with Miles, I liked his family dynamic too. First off, like, I love a boy that loves his mama. I think that's just so sweet. And the fact that, like, him and his family, they're just chill. And they're one of us. Like, yeah, they're human. And regardless, like, I think that's what Miles and Gwen are. They're human, but they're also superheroes, and they can go from one or the other, like, really fast, and then they have heart to them too. So, what about you?
And they have a lot of parallels, right? They both have parents who are going to be captains.
That's true too. Yeah.
And they both have, Gwen Stacy. Did they ever show Gwen Stacy's mom?
No, I was wondering where she was.
Yeah.
But her dad, she's got daddy issues. And a lot of that too is, there's just some times where, as a woman, you feel detached from your father, or like you have a parent that puts their job first before you. And that's just a thing that happens to people, and it's very real. So yeah, Gwen and Miles are just overall very real characters, but also badass superheroes.
And that's what's great about Spider-Man. And they were talking about this movie, canon events. And basically, it's the thing that makes Spider-Man a Spider-Man. And it's the fact that they struggle to maintain a personal life and a superhero life, and that they lose the ones that they love.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, like, you watch a Spider-Man movie, it's got to feature a death.
Yeah.
It's just got to happen. Like, someone has to die. Like, all the great Spider-Man movies, they have a funeral at the end. So. And
that's touched upon in this movie.
Yes.
Is that, and this part was really neat, was when Miguel was like, this is what shapes us, And he shows, like, every single Spider-Man that has gone through a loss in their life. So, would you risk your universe to just save one person, and does it remind you of any other media from this past year?
Well, I'm going to jump on Miles's train. I'm going to say Spider-Man does both. Spider-Man always finds a way. So, what it reminds me of is specifically of our boy Joel from The Last of Us, and how Joel would sacrifice the vaccine to cure the world of a virus in The Last of Us to save Ellie. And it's because Ellie was his world. And I feel the same way about Miles in this film, is that, you know, he has these spider people, but, like, his family is just, it's his world. And I really hope in the next movie that he finds a way to do both. But I've played the Spider-Man PS4 video game, and I know that, you know, Captain Morales dies. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if Spider-Man can divert his destiny.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. He's going to try to do both, but I'm preparing myself for his dad to die. I'm preparing myself just because I know these Spider-Man movies, they just go for it. After watching the Andrew Garfield one with Gwen Stacy breaking her back, anything's possible. I'm still not over that, by the way.
Yeah, but now Gwen Stacy is going to be known, instead of as a damsel in distress and someone who dies, she's going to be known as a hero in her own right.
Well, I don't think she was really a damsel in distress. She just held her own. She just slipped and fell. Oh. You know? And he just couldn't save her. But I digress.
We digress.
So, Mike, what do you think will happen in the next installment?
Well, Miles has to get back home, but what I really think is going to be the kicker is that when Miguel O'Hara went back to another dimension and he impersonated himself and he was living that life and that family died, I feel like that was his canon event. That's what made him who he is. And I feel like it's the Einstein theory of, like, you know, the grandfather effect, where you can't change time. And it's going to be the same way in this movie. I feel like Miles is going to go to his dimension to save his father, but in that case, he brings the thing that's going to kill his father to the dimension. So whether that's Captain Jefferson, it's his alternate form, who's the Prowler, or it's going to be his uncle. I think he's just kind of digging his own grave at this point. I think he's really made a lot of trouble for himself.
I have no idea what they could do at all.
I don't even want to watch a trailer for this next movie, just because my mind will just start spinning with theories. I just want the next movie now.
Anything's possible. Everything's on the table for the next installment. So I have nothing. I got nothing.
Yeah, we're gonna have like you were questioning, like the next movie is gonna be Spider-Gwen, Miles, Spider-Pig, and the other people that Gwen assembled, her band, and then it's gonna be versus everyone else in the Spider Society with Miguel. So it's gonna be like a Spider-Man war.
Yeah, Civil War.
Spider-Man.
Instead of Captain America Civil War, it's Spider-Man Civil War. Yeah. So, you know, Mike, you are, you know, an animator, modeler. You're just a very artistic person. You know this stuff.
Thank you.
So, oh yeah, of course. So, so if you could work on the next Spider-Man movie, what job would you like?
Oh my goodness. Could you imagine being a character concept artist on this movie and getting to draw Spider-Man all day long and just different ones and then getting them put into the movie? I think that would be so cool.
I think that's your dream come true.
Or being a character animator would be so cool as well.
Like, your whole life would be Spider-Man if you worked on a film like this.
Yeah.
Because you would have to... I was asking you earlier, I'm like, now, do all of these Spider-Men that we saw in this movie, do they exist in the comics? Like, did they make these from scratch? Like, you would just be, like, sitting at the dinner table probably just, like, etching a random Spider-Man.
You could make little different variations or different, like, extremes of Spider-Man, and they'd be like, okay, well, we need 600 Spider-Man in this shot, so we'll take it.
Yeah.
And then they go off and they model it and they rig it and they animate it and they render it and then they voice act it and it's in the movie. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
What about you?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm I would take the social media approach. Take it take it easy. I'm not like, oh my god, like you. You know, I once had a dream of working for Pixar. That ship kind of sailed. Just, my career choice has pivoted a little bit since I graduated college. But, maybe being an animator. Yeah, I could be, or just, video editor, piecing it all together. Now, one thing I do want to shout out are the soundtracks to these movies. I really enjoy the music, so just piecing together the score even, I would like that.
I think you would be an incredible voiceover director.
Yeah.
I think you would really be able to, because one of the best voiceover directors ever is, gosh, I'm forgetting her name right now, but she voice directed Avatar: The Last Airbender and Korra. And her approach is that she's acting against you in this while you're recording. So she's reading your lines, but she's not doing it monotonously like at an audition. She's acting like the character would read the line, and in some cases how they did read the line if it was previously recorded. Andrea Romano. Yes, that's the name.
Okay.
Yes. I think you would be an excellent voiceover director.
I'm a very musical person too. My family and I, we've all grown up with music, and I mean, I have like music notes tattooed on my body. I mean, we're just a big sound and musical family, and I'm very interested in sound, hence this podcast. So I do like just audio, anything that has to do with audio. So I would totally be open to being a voiceover director or even just doing voice work. There was a time where I did want to be like a voice actress or like, comedy stuff too, but that's another story. Mike, you told me that they are going to be making a live action Miles Morales movie. So, what are your hopes for Miles if he does make a live action appearance?
Honestly, I just hope that they involve Marvel as much as they can. They involve Kevin Feige as much as they can, because the films that Sony is producing with the Spider-Man characters outside of his leadership and outside of these animated movies are awful. We're talking Morbius, we're talking Venom 2, they're making a Craven movie. Venom, they just can't do it on their own. They don't understand what it takes anymore. I mean, they basically invented the genre when they made the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, and now they just dropped the ball. I would hope they would just, one, treat it with respect, and two, kind of find some way to work with Marvel. But along with that, I would hope that they just nail down the struggles of what it means to be Spider-Man, which is personal problems and superhero problems. And when Peter Parker or Miles Morales wins, Spider-Man has to lose, and vice versa. They have to nail what it is to be Spider-Man. So, Amanda, which of these many, 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 many Spider-Man characters would you like to see in a spin-off?
Oh man, I thought you were going to ask me which MCU character I would like to see in a spin-off, and I would have been like, Loki! There is a comic or two out there with Spider-Man and Loki and Spider-Man eat hot dogs on a roof, and I love it so much. Spin-off though. Oh my gosh. I mean, Gwen, obviously. I would love to see Spider-Gwen in a movie, just live action, animated, whatever. Right now, Disney Junior has Spider-Man and Friends, which is little baby Spider-Man, and has Miles, Peter, and Gwen in it. So I'm hoping we do see more of especially the trio. These guys are great together. Yeah, I don't know. Who would you choose?
Just out of sheer curiosity of what it would be like, I'm gonna go with the T-Rex Spider-Man.
I forgot about that one. I was waiting for a bunny Spider-Man to appear.
That would be cool.
The cat one that spat up the web.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Spider-Cat would also be a possibility.
Mm-hmm. So you're probably, since, you just love anything Spider-Man, how would you rank this among other Spider-Man films? And also, as an animated film, where would it be too for you?
So, my favorite animated films are typically Spider-Verse, Incredibles, and the original Toy Story.
So like Pixar Studios.
Pixar Studios.
Originally, yeah.
Originally, yeah. It's crazy how Sony's kind of come in and
Mm-hmm.
stolen the statue from him a couple of times. But, yeah, I mean, this is tied with me for being one of the best animated films I've ever seen. And it's great. I mean, it's tied with the first one. It's just as snappy and as witty and action-packed as The Incredibles. And, yeah, I would really have to think about that. As far as Spider-Man films go, I feel like with Miles being here, there's a different kind of category for a Spider-Man movie. You have like Spider-Man with like Tobey Maguire being, a local hero, a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, a guy who fights criminals in New York, and then you have like the Tom Holland Spider-Man who's all about the team-ups, and now you have Miles who's all about like trekking across the multiverse. I feel like there are three different, very intense approaches to Spider-Man, but like this new one here, Across the Spiderverse, Miles has those personal problems, those I'm late, or I have to do this, or I'm falling behind in my schoolwork. He has those in this movie, and we still get the dimension hopping fun of the multiverse. So, I mean, this has to be probably a three-way tie for a Spider-Man movie for the best one, along with No Way Home and Spider-Verse. Although Spider-Verse is probably a little bit lower ranking in that three-way tie.
I think...
No Way Home is a little bit lower.
Well, and I think with this movie, you can get away so much with animation. You get away with things that you typically cannot portray in live-action movies. Just, the moves of the character and just, like, the quickness, I guess, of the scenes. But, oh, man, I don't know. Spider-Man films... I mean, I adore No Way Home. It's one of my favorite MCU movies. But this was really good. I would have to say this is probably second for me after No Way Home. I don't have a particularly, like, favorite anything when it comes to Spider-Man. I do it for Mike, but I do love Spider-Man. My brother grew up with Spider-Man. So, I mean, No Way Home was hands down my favorite because it was just nostalgic and exciting and I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think he's my favorite. I don't know if I said that earlier, but today presently he is my favorite Spider-Man. But this movie, like I said, you can get away with an animated film more than live action. So in that, it puts it in a different category. But
does it though? Because there are live action elements of this movie.
Yeah, that's true too. But yeah, no, it's definitely probably like close second for me. And as far as animated movie, I mean, I'm a Toy Story fan, like super fan here, so it's like it's down a little bit for me because I'm a Disney nerd, Toy Story, but I enjoyed it and it was just so beautiful. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like, Toy Story was the, the landline or the rotary phone.
Yeah.
And now this movie is like the iPhone. It's like, they're both revolutionary for their time, and they're just different.
Yeah, like Toy Story 2 is my favorite, but it was revolutionary in 2000. Toy Story 3 is, like, for me it's a tie between 2 and 3. But that was 2010. Now we're in 2023, and now Sony Animation is showing us what they can do. So, oh yeah.
Yeah,
I get it.
All these other studios are pushing out Trolls and Minions and...
Kraken.
Movies about characters who shouldn't get along, but then go to a giant city together. Wreck-It Ralph and Zootopia and upcoming Elemental, and Sony's over here just doing fun things with comic book movies.
Yeah. What chance do you believe this movie has at the Oscars?
We'll see. I mean, I think it'll definitely take Best Animated Feature.
Oh yeah, hands down.
Only a couple times has an animated movie won Best Picture, but I think, um, a lot of times movies are given those um, nominations not because like they're the best movie, but because of what they achieved.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is one of those cases where they could recognize the achievement just by giving it a nomination.
Yeah.
For Best Picture.
Right.
I think that would be cool. So Amanda, we have seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. We've seen Spider-Man No Way Home, and now we have two Spider-Verse movies. If you were to just tell someone to check out a movie about the multiverse as a theme or as a plot device, what movie would you tell them to check out?
Probably Everything Everywhere at Once. Just because it's a general multiverse movie, there's really no like characters that you have to know or a story you have to know before going into that movie. It's just I love that movie. It was a good time. It was just a general multiverse movie. I first got introduced to the multiverse through Into the Spider-Verse. I jokingly call Spider-Man like the Spider-Mans. So for me personally, it's definitely Into the Spider-Verse, but if I was to recommend a movie for just anything that had to do with the multiverse, I would probably do Everything Everywhere at Once. How about you?
Me too, because it is just a movie that is about jumping to different universes, including universes where people have hot dogs for hands,
Oh God.
or where people are sentient rocks. I think that's
So
just
weird.
about the bizarrety of the multiverse is the most fun in that movie.
Mhm.
Definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. And this uh, this movie as well. These two movies also very easily streamline what the multiverse is, and people can take their children to see this movie, and the children will understand, you know, AP Physics. What is the multiverse?
Mhm.
So that's really cool how it's kind of simplifies everything.
Yeah. And we did see a lot of small children in the theater, so there's a lot there for everyone, adults and kids. There's a lot of adult jokes, a lot of adult theming, and then kids get to see Spider-Man. They get to see like 85,000 Spider-Man.
Yeah. So we'll just have to wait and see what the Flash has in store for the multiverse as a theme. I know Amanda isn't particularly familiar with the Flash, and she's not familiar with the Keaton Batman, and she saw Man of Steel once, so we'll see how this all works out to her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it will be asking the same questions thematically that Across the Spider-Verse asked. So I'm looking forward to seeing that movie as well.
And with that, if you guys have seen Across the Spider-Verse, please let us know. And I'm sure Mike would love to get into a big discussion about the movie some more with you guys in the comments section, either on Facebook or Instagram. And speaking of Instagram, make sure that you follow us. We're going to post our giveaway probably here in a little bit. So make sure you enter. Again, we will be announcing the winner in about a few weeks on our Flash episode. So you don't want to miss that out. I hope you guys all have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.